Hello, Keystone community. It's Mrs. Sumulong, middle and high school social studies teacher with the Keystone School. I'm here to read you a story called Goodnight, Goon. It's actually based on this book, which is called Goodnight Moon, if you've ever read this book before. This is a really fun book. But this book is called a parody. A parody is when someone takes a book that a lot of people know, or a song, or a movie, or an idea, and they turn it into something different, new, and usually pretty funny. I think you'll really enjoy this book, especially at Halloween time, because this book has a lot of really great Halloween references in it. I hope you enjoy Goodnight, Goon. Goodnight, Goon, a petrifying parody by Michael Rex. In the cold gray tomb there was a gravestone and a black lagoon and a picture of Martians taking over the moon. And there were 3 little mummies rubbing their tummies, and 2 hairy claws, and a set of jaws, and a loud screechy bat, and a black hat, and a skull, and a shoe, and a pot full of goo. Ew. And a hairy old werewolf who was hollering, "Boo! Good night, tomb. Good night, goon. Good night, Martians taking over the moon. Good night, bones in the black lagoon. Good night, mummies, and good night, tummies. Good night, claws, and good night, jaws. Good night, moans, and good night, groans. Good night, screechy bat, and good night, hat. Good night, skull, and good night, shoe. Good night, creature. Good night, goo. Ew. And good night to the old werewolf hollering, "Boo! Good night, you. Get under there. Good night, monsters everywhere." Wasn't that such a fun Halloween-style story? Look how messy his room is at the very end. Would you get in trouble if your room was that messy with your parents? I would probably get in trouble with my parents if my room was ever that messy too. But he has a lot of great friends hanging out with him in his wonderful room. I hope you enjoyed this really fun book. And if you have a chance to read Goodnight Moon, maybe you can do that too after you've read this particular book, Goodnight, Goon. I hope you enjoy both of them. Thanks so much, Keystone community.